Let me know when we're ready. Okey doke. Thanks, Alex. Okey doke. All right, thank you very much. Welcome back to
Recording
the
in
public-
progress.
Ooh, hello. Welcome back to the public session. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. We are at the end of May, which is shocking, but May was Mental Health Awareness Month, and we kicked it off on May 1st with Paint the Town Green. I'm sure you noticed the green ribbons and signs around town. The Mayor's Wellness Campaign is having a book club discussion this Thursday with the book Anxious Generation, How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness by Jonathan Haidt. This is at the library in the women's room. There's no registration required, and it's from 7 to 8. So if you're interested, there are copies of the books available in the library, and I'm sure there'll be additional copies available as well. Yesterday was Memorial Day, and while I'm sure we noticed the cost of food and drinks and barbecue items, etc., the real costs were the service members' lives. There's a beautiful memorial in Green Village on the green listing the names of service members that were lost, and there was a beautiful ceremony to honor those. If you've ever had the opportunity to experience the American Cemetery in Normandy or the Vietnam Memorial in DC or even in our own Homedale, New Jersey, it leaves a lasting impression when you realize the number of lives, and Memorial Day is always a great reminder of the cost of democracy. While the weather wasn't the best, we were able to open Colony Pool and end with a beautiful day yesterday. The capital improvements that were made starting last year looked really great. We have 2 staircases that were added, and the DPW, I'm sure, will be happy not to have to repair and patch the old concrete wall anymore. We look forward to lots of beautiful summer days at the pool. Wanted to note that summer hours have started, and municipal offices will be closing at 1 p.m. on Fridays, and the construction department at 12 p.m. Fridays only. As you can see in our consent agenda, there are a couple of old projects with New Jersey DOT, Department of Transportation, that are moving forward, specifically the Safe Routes to Schools and some River Road paving projects, which we're excited about. Tonight, we're excited to hear from the Library of the Chathams about their capital project. I said in the press release, in a society where loneliness is becoming endemic, having third spaces, which are social environments that are neither home nor work, is increasingly important, and the library is that space for our community. These funds are critical for the continuity and upgrade to this important space, so I'm looking forward to hearing more. I'm also happy to announce that Peter Tripp is named as our second alternate to the Planning Board, as well as our Joint Rec Committee. Additionally, we are adding a police officer to the Chatham Township Force, bringing the number of sworn officers to 23 in order to bring the ratio of officers to residents more in line with surrounding areas, and also to reduce the need for overtime. Chatham High School, whereas we're winding down, I can't believe school's over in 3 weeks, they have their 7th annual TEDx Youth Talk. That's going to be at June 10th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium at the high school. And these are really incredible stories that the students prepare and tell and are selected for this program this year. So please come out and listen to these amazing students. I want to say congratulations to the New York Knicks on making to the finals in about the first time in 27 years. And we'll just keep praying for the Mets. So now on to the Township Committee reports. I can start with the Historical Society. We officially received our plaque designating the Red Brick Schoolhouse as a county landmark. We got a wonderful grant from the county, and Commissioner Stephen Shaw came out and presented the plaque, and we were really grateful for the county's generous grant for the restoration. The schoolhouse looks incredible. There's so much stuff there. They're able to move things around all the time. You can go to the schoolhouse, on the first Sunday of every month, and every time you'll see something new. And that's it for my reports. Committeeman Alperowitz.
Thanks, Mayor. In addition to Green Village Fire Department that held their memorial service yesterday, from the first responder side, lots of things going on at Chatham EMS beyond the emergencies themselves. It was a week last week for EMS Week that celebrated the first responders nationally. Local area hospitals did lots of activities and all that kind of stuff to honor the first responders, bringing them patients. And it was culminated in a celebration where the Chatham Emergency Squad named Carol Wilmot, who has been on the squad for, I guess, about 12 years now, as the EMT of the year. So congratulations to her. There's a blood drive taking place on June 13th at St. Patrick's Church. And for anybody that is interested in hearing more about the squad and all the things that they do and how they operate, they are having an open house on Sunday, this Sunday, May 31st, over at 45 Spring Street. Very much encourage people to knock on the door and come on in. And here's a story that deserves some publicity. At the last Joint Rec Committee meeting, a couple of residents came forward and talked to us about a new initiative that they've started, a 501c3 organization, nonprofit, that is called Chatham Play It Forward, which is inspired by one resident's child who loaned equipment and provided some fee money to help underprivileged children be able to access the sport that they wanted to play, and it profoundly changed their life. So they thought, well, how hard can this be? Let's kind of make this more public and do this more amongst more people. So they set up Play It Forward, which basically gives grants and equipment to those in need so that they can wear a jersey, play a team sport, and not be denied sort of access to the sport. So it's a really terrific initiative. So if the Courier and TAP are listening, I'd encourage you to do a story on it. And for more information, they will have a booth over at Fishwack coming up. A couple of shout outs to the board members. I might get some of these names wrong, sorry. Ali Gassert, Mattia McDonough, Julie Beamel, Jude Taraska, Krista Kabita, as well as Annie DeMarais, Beth McNaughton, Andrea O'Brien, and I don't have the names of about 30, which is probably more than that, Chatham High School students who are actively involved in doing all of this. So kudos to all of them for this initiative. That's it.
Okay. I just want to let everybody know the Senior Center has their garden tour coming up on Sunday, June 7th from 10 to 4. You can get tickets at the chathamseniorcenter.org. There will be 8 beautiful gardens to see, and it's a wonderful way to get out to see what other folks are doing in their gardens. And it's everything from, like, planting for food, planting vegetables, to native gardens, to they kind of cover the gamut across those 8 gardens. So it's a really wonderful opportunity. It's a great way to support the Senior Center. So I encourage everybody to try and attend. And they will be, you can order online, chathamseniorcenter.org, or they will also be at Fishwack on the 6th, selling tickets as well. The mayor had mentioned Colony Pool is open, so we're excited about that. It looks beautiful, and I just want to thank all the volunteers, our advisory committee, our administration, and everybody who worked really hard to open the pool, but also to acclimate our new management team. Our advisory committee, made up of a group of residents, was very active, meeting with them regularly to make sure all the programs everybody has come to love continue. So, we want to thank them for all their efforts, and certainly our administration as well for everything they've been doing to get our new management team up and running. And then otherwise, planning board has canceled a few meetings, so all is quiet there. So I think that's everything on my end for now.
Thank you, Mayor Rowland. Committeeman Alperowitz did a fine job of sharing information on the Play It Forward campaign. I would like to just add that they are actively seeking donations, funding to help support the initiatives that they are putting into place. And they are also seeking generous donations in terms of equipment. So should you have, ransack your closets and garages, should you have left-handed, right-handed baseball gloves, bats, helmets for lacrosse, football, I think even footwear like cleats. So anything and everything athletic, if it's in a reasonable condition, please do consider donating it to the program to help support children who may value it. This evening, I'd like to celebrate our youth in Chatham. I'd like to speak about Troop 121, which is hosted by the Presbyterian Church on Southern Boulevard. They've accomplished a number of Eagle projects benefiting Cheshire Homes, Audubon Society in Bernardsville, and the St. Paul's Episcopal Church, where they completed a number of facility improvements, as well as ongoing efforts with regard to environmental and conservation-focused service activities, community engagement at local events, most notably, which is coming up this weekend, Fishawak Festival, as well as ongoing support for community needs, such as flag retirement ceremonies. With regard to Troop 280, I would like to give due recognition to Kiara Hederachi, who earned Eagle Scout honors. This is achieved by less than 10% of Boy Scouts in America. For her Eagle project, she built a new roofed sandbox at St. Patrick's. She is the 16th Eagle Scout in Troop 280, which was founded in 2019, based in the township, and has currently about 50 active scouts, serving Chatham and a number of adjacent communities. So far in 2026, Troop 280 has completed almost 300 hours of community service and camped out for 100 nights, bearing the elements and animals. Our beloved Girl Scouts, there is a ceremony tomorrow acknowledging Girl Scouts who achieved silver and gold awards. There are 13 silver award recipients. I would like to recognize Madeline Barnes and Reina Sayani. Their project is titled The Cougar Crew. Mag Greta, her project is titled Fidgets and Feelings. Julia Hamilton and Blake Vizentini, project is titled The Crochet Connection. Ladane Hillman, project is titled Make Your Own Worry Monster. Sarah Khan, Public Speaking for Kids. Charlotte Kong, a positive, and that's P-A-W, change. Aubrey McCarthy, Empower Me, Building Confidence and Strength Through Self-Motivation. Leah Reardon, Dogs in the Heat, How to Protect Your Dog from the Heat in the Summer. Quite timely, I must say. Caitlin Ross and Emma Schuber, From Shelter to Safety, Raising Awareness for Dog Fostering. Claire Shregast, Food Scientists. Mary Kate Shregast and Ellis Sobers, Human Library. Katie Scherer, Building Positive Relationships with Senior Citizens. Malini Valetti, Bollywood Beats. Also being recognized tomorrow are the Girl Scouts who have achieved Gold Awards. And again, similar to the Eagle Scout recognition, Gold Awards are achieved by Girl Scouts at a rate of less than 10%. So a significant recognition and achievement. Molly Altman, Honoring the Lost. Asher Robson, Period Power, Breaking the Cycle. Cameron Shull, Middle School Mindfulness. Madeline Volovich, Across Ages. And Paige Zucci, Ride Smart. So to all the accomplished Eagle Scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, congratulations to you all. Stick with it. It's a honorable recognition, so I commend you all. Thank you, Mayor.
And Deputy Mayor McHugh.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple real quick ones here. Regarding open space, we actually are reorganizing and we have our first meeting with a number of things on the agenda, and that actually is going to happen tomorrow night. So we're off and running with the Open Space Advisory Committee. And without stealing any thunder, but other than introduction, I reserve any library report tonight for the big one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that intro, we will move on to the presentation by the library. Thank you, Karen Brodsky, the Director of the Library of the Chathams, for coming and presenting for us.
Where do you want to go? Position. Do a little dance. We're going to do a little dance. Madam Mayor, Committee Administrator, and Greg, good evening and thank you for scheduling us. We're getting the slide program up here, but in a second, when that, I'll just talk, because that's what I'll do. I'll fill time. I won't tell any jokes, but Mr. Lum is here, and if you ever go to the library and you read the history of the library, you will, and Mr. Lum is serving on our board, our foundation, our new foundation, but you will see the history of the library, and it talks about the Lum family and originally the original library and how the Lum, who would it be exactly? Give me the ancestry. Ah, you can't. Yeah, it'll take too long. But yes, involved in forming the original library. So wonderful. But as you can see here by the intro slide, we're here to talk about a capital investment request in the Library of the Chathams. We're presenting the same material tonight that we are presenting later in the borough. Same briefing, same numbers, same ask, one joint library, one conversation, two governing bodies. And I know that gets complicated at times. So I'm Kevin Sullivan. I'm the Vice President of the Library Board of Trustees, and I'm here tonight with Ms. Karen Brodsky. She is the Executive Director of the library. Andy Hollander, who is the President of the Library Board of Trustees, could not be here tonight because he is traveling, but he sends his regards and well wishes to us and to you all as well. We were requested to be here tonight. If you can. Oh, all right. Well, it's not working. So, all right. Tech problems early.
I have my own.
No, it's just all you gotta do is once you're ready.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Just leave it here and hold click, just click.
Tech is only good when
Great.
it works.
It has to stay on the surface.
Because you're touching the
Yeah.
sensor
Oh,
on the
yeah.
bottom.
Yeah. Okay. You got that? Maybe I should. Whatever. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Go ahead. So, we were requested to come here tonight to explain more or less from the beginning of the process and the journey that we've been on, our request for needed funds and how we got to where we are today. Much of what you will hear tonight is not new, other than some facts around the New Jersey Library Construction Grant that was awarded to the library 2 months ago after a long wait, $2.45 million, so we were very excited about that. I'm not going to go through every slide and all the details on them, Karen or myself tonight. As you've heard this information before, I know Marty has mentioned, as he did tonight, he is our liaison to the library for the committee, and you've seen or heard parts of this in total. So let's begin with some of the good news, and this is some of the good news up here on the screen. It gets a little bit lost in meetings and in buildings and budgets and talking about those kinds of things, but the library is thriving. Demand is up, programs are full, residents are getting real value out of this institution. What we want to talk about tonight is how we protect what we have built and how we keep it working for the next generations. And I think the data on the screen speaks for itself. And Karen, at this time, can you give us some updates on the infrastructure?
Yes. So, I'm sorry? Oh, thank you. So you've heard it before, the building has 6 additions that were never integrated. Much of the infrastructure is old, and what is not old is wrong for the building. Having been installed in 2017 through the New Jersey Direct Install program, that program replaces like-for-like equipment. When efficient units were installed in place of the older
Less efficient units, it created a humidity problem, and we've documented that with M&E engineers as well as others, and it was confirmed by another independent vendor at the request of the township in 2024. 12 units were significantly oversized for the space they serve. One of them by 223%. Oversized units cool quickly and shut off before they can remove moisture from the air, so that means they short cycle all day long. That's the direct cause of the humidity and the associated risks. And even brand new equipment installed in the same configuration would have the same problem. We can't patch this. The only fix is comprehensive replacement with properly sized equipment designed for these specific spaces. So the consequences that you can see aren't projections, they're actuals. Humidity goes up to 91% sometimes in the summer, and the staff works frantically to keep the levels under control, installing dehumidification, manually emptying the many dehumidifiers in multiple times daily that can't be easily drained directly, and conducting 4 daily building inspections to check for moisture or worse. This is the library you don't see, and that residents don't see. HVAC costs alone are eating away the budget, already topping $200,000 when you add in this year's expenses. The library board knows what needs to be done and spent considerable money developing a capital equipment schedule for replacements. We started work in 2014, but it was put on hold because it's more cost effective to do as part of the construction project. And we will provide this for everybody to look at in greater detail. So this is how drastic the problem is. If you take a look at the right-hand side, these are not small amounts of oversized equipment. These are huge, enormous. This is something that we see frequently in the library. There is nothing wrong with this equipment. This thermostat is actually set to 68 degrees, and the air in the library is 81 degrees. This is uncomfortable for patrons, terrible for the books and other equipment, and deadly for the other HVAC unit that's struggling to try to make up for it. Oh. Greg. Your remote mouse is misbehaving.
No, the remote's fine. Just gotta make sure.
Human
you're
error.
clicking the right spot. Just make sure you're not clicking on any of this stuff.
I see.
Or else.
Sorry, Kevin.
So we just thought it, not to hear it directly from ourselves, but also to have some testimonial from really people who are dealing this kind of stuff every day. And I think, in terms of cost, because we all know this is a costly project, you can see what they have to say about how this works and operates. And we'll get into a little bit of the numbers later, but I just find that first line, anything in this building triple the cost. To get from here to there to put a cable in is just difficult. It's time consuming, and of course, time is money, as we all know. So if you look at what the board has done over the years, we have gone out to professional consultants to get an analysis. We've worked with both towns' engineers at different times over the last 10 years. I'd like to use a quote from Mr. Rushke, who we all know, who says, well, you can engineer anything. And I can't recall if it was Omdex or M&E, but they basically said to us, this may not solve the problem, and including the balancing of the building. Now, I don't know what that means, but they didn't even want to take it on in terms of the work because they weren't suited to do it, and they're engineers. So I have to catch up with Mr. Rushke on that comment. So, but it's a challenge, and it's a challenge, and we've gone back. But we have done what we could do and get expert opinions to where we've gotten to at this point. So this was us back in 2016, and here we are now. This was our original projection. So if you see, we originally started at $4.5 million, and the committee at the time said basically, hey, what can you do from it's a big number. I understand what the big asks are here at the committee. And it was basically said, hey, can you do some fundraising? See how fundraising goes. Let's see what we can get. So we did. And that was 2016. In 2017, the Construction Bond Act came along, and then we kind of pivoted. While we still did fundraising, we were waiting on the Bond Act. But in that previous slide, you saw us coming out of a zero interest rate environment, a zero essentially inflation environment. And the projections back then, quite honestly, at 3% were somewhat reasonable. Nobody's going to go out on a limb and go much higher than that when you're pretty much in a zero interest rate environment. What has happened over the years, obviously, we know, and now the total cost of the project has risen to $11.98 million. And we can discuss, obviously, as we have with you, what's inside that whole project. That's not the request of the towns, by the way. That's just total cost of the project, right? So we have the grant, we have our fundraising, and we'll get to that.
Thank you. So thank you. Just to recap, these are the needs. These are the necessities that are required to keep this building going, and the reasons for the project. When you look at the box to your right, the great spaces that we've talked about in the past and we continue to talk about, and what we can do with them, what services we can provide, are almost affordable because they come out of the groundwork that is done. So the children's activity room, the business and meeting center to provide study rooms and places for people to have meetings, the local history room, all of that is much easier to do when your walls are open anyway, for the HVAC work, for the electrical work, for the plumbing work. Those are the things that are consuming the costs. Creating a clear line of sight. We've had both of our police departments from the township and the borough come and evaluate the building, structure us for active shooter drills, keeping patrons safe. Our building can't keep people safe because you can't see anyone. We've tried installing cameras. We've tried installing an intercom system, which is hideously difficult, as you saw from the two vendors who talked about the difficulties of the building.
So again, the total cost projected right now at this moment, and that's for 2027 projected out to next year, includes obviously the HVAC, climate control, electrical, 70+ years of replacement, plumbing, mechanical, and a renovation of the overall layout and space of the building, and of course the archival storage, which is critical to many elements, particularly for the historical society and records of the town. Again, there is a 12% contingency fee in here, obviously for increased prices. Some might say that's low, but let's hope it's not. Let's hope it goes the other way. But that's the full project picture. This is where we are today, and this is what we have done in terms of getting the grant. And again, that was a long process, approved in March of this year, started in 2020. We have secured, raised, and reserved $3 million in library funds. And what do we mean by reserved? There are a number of donations that were given to the library over the years for specific things. We had to reach out to every one of those families, individuals, trusts, and to move the money in towards this capital project. And every one of them said, absolutely, that's a great idea. And they understood the need, and we shifted the direction of what their funds would be used for. So we do have a total of $3 million. I'm going to let Karen speak a little bit later on about the grant proposal and why it's important in September, and there's substantial changes to it. There is a matching element, obviously, that is required, like of all grants, right? But it can be possibly, but without uncertainty, matched by individual, foundation raised funds or raised funds for the library. But we don't really know that yet. So, but the 5.48 million is where we're at today in terms of what we have kind of in the bank. We have 3 million in the bank. Hopefully we get the other 2.4. So what's left? Essentially $6.5 million to do the project in total. That's $3.25 million each, just splitting it down the middle, 50-50 between both towns. And again, that number's not lost on me as a big number, but in terms of funding and bonding, but it is what it is. What we did not do, or what we left off, as you can see on the right, some bathrooms that we had talked about redoing, lower level meeting rooms, remove the columns. It's kind of awkward with columns in a big open room. To have presentations and other things. We looked at excavating some crawl space underneath the children's area to get more space in the building itself. A very, very costly endeavor, as you can see by the numbers there. And we also looked at a geothermal study. This is more really a borough initiative, I suppose. They have a environmental plan that they're trying to achieve by 2050. Quite honestly, look, if we were building a new library, that would be great. It would be wonderful. Very difficult to do, particularly in light of the timeline that we have in September. Not that it would have to be done by then, but we did look at it. We did study it. And in the question that you're going to have between wants and needs, it came down to a want, not a need. And it's so we left it off the table for now, and that's just wanted to let you know. One of the other things we do want you to know, and what is not included right now, is essentially a project manager. Right. We're not engineers, we're not architects, we're not construction folks. Karen wears a lot of hats, but I haven't seen her with a tool belt running around, kind of, sometimes. But yeah, actually, yeah. All right, let me take that back. But that's for a different reason. But anyway, we're not day-to-day people, and to do a project of this size and coordination and making sure the money's being spent wisely and the work's being done well would require a project manager. So this is a little bit more on the current funding picture. I did really just want to point out, obviously, there's some things that will still impact if the towns decide to move forward, the committee decides to move forward. Obviously, in terms of the bond, interest rates, et cetera, how will it all be finalized between the two towns. But I would like to point out the one point on the bond, because it always gets asked, and it's a question. It's a fair question. Let's just build a new library. Okay, yeah, we could do that, but the number's about $25 to $28 million. So it's a lot. So, but yeah.
So what is the project actually accomplishing? These are the things it's accomplishing, or that we're working to have it accomplish. You know about the modernization, that we're not expanding, we're staying within the footprint, although we will gain a little bit of people space because there are corridors that lead nowhere. There's a staircase that leads to a blank wall. Those will be incorporated. We also are mindful of preserving the character of the building, so the outside front won't change. We know we're in a historic district, and we're trying to be respectful of that. And replacing the equipment with the correct equipment. So I think you all know that this is how the library looks now. People love it, but it's tired. It's tired looking, and it's past the lifespan of not just its system, but also its spaces and the way people use the spaces. We're past capacity in many ways. We can't really fit any more children in the children's room for many purposes. We have a lot of children's programs in the downstairs meeting rooms, which need some help as well. So the new renovation is going to, this is obviously a view from the top on the upper level, a clear line of sight from one side of the library to the other, which we've never had. The downstairs is even worse. It took me 2 months to find my way around that library without getting lost, honestly, in the downstairs. It was just crazy. But it will be modern and it will be flexible space. So it'll meet the needs of residents now, according to all of our surveys and focus groups, which we've repeated at the end of 2025 to make sure we're still on target. And further into the future, 10 years from now, the needs may be different, and the space will be able to accommodate that. So we do have some proof that our findings are accurate, and that's with the teen center. We built the teen center. We had to build something because we had an $80,000 grant for the back entrance, and the teen center was a really high priority in the strategic plan and among the community members who responded to the survey. From the first moment it opened, it was successful. Kids told their parents, "I'll never go in the teen room." Oh, well, they're there. They love it, their parents love it, and other people benefit from it as well.
So as we look at these last couple of slides, there's just so much more of a story that could be told about the library tonight. But in terms of how and why has this taken so long? And I'll run through that a little bit. We've given you tonight a little bit of a state of the state, to some degree, of the library. Again, nothing new in terms of that you've heard some of it, if not all of it before. What has changed, though, is that Karen and the work of the board have finally received that grant of $2.45 million, born out of the Library Construction Act of 2017. Along the journey, the joint towns told us to be patient, go for the grant, and let's see what happens with the grant before we commit. That was not at all an unreasonable request, and in lieu of the governing body's role in being stewards of our tax dollars, it was a prudent thing and a reasonable request of the library. However, we have all heard the phrase "time is money," and that was never truer, unfortunately, in a negative way than when we were trying to fund this library project. To recap the history, while initiating fundraising at the request of the governing bodies in 2016, the state of New Jersey in 2017 approved and signed into law the New Jersey Library Construction Act, authorizing $125 million in general obligation bonds. The initial grant awards supported exactly 50% of the project costs. Stipulations for the grant included the local governing entity must provide the remaining 50% match. Local entities, as I mentioned before, can leverage private donations or local municipal funds for their share. Unfortunately, the grant itself wasn't even made available for 2 years, taking us into 2019. Round 1 grants weren't appropriated until 2020. We were not awarded a grant in the first round, but in 2022, we were the first runner-up for the remaining allocation of grants. Good news for the library. But, unfortunately, it took 3 years to hear back from the state. On January 17th of 2025, we were notified that our grant had been approved. Good news for the library. Unfortunately, it was subject to the state legislative joint oversight committee to have a formal vote, a mere formality. But the committee did not meet for 14 months. And the library was finally awarded its grant on March this year of 2026. So a series of circumstances had kind of put us in maybe in a position, in a place that we didn't necessarily want to find ourselves, all of us, but here we are. 10 years in the process, coming out of a zero interest rate environment, a global pandemic, experiencing double-digit inflation to where we are today. Who knew? The question before you is, what do we do with this library of ours? The request from us is that we need, at this point, action. We need you to act. The board at this point has done basically everything we can. We will continue to fundraise, and regardless of your decision, we will continue to fundraise. We will continue to move forward with the foundation and their fundraising efforts. But this grant is, obviously we need to get back to the state, reapply with the new grant application process by September of this year. I know how the municipal calendar works over the summer, so schedules are tight. So that is our request of you, is just we've kind of exhausted everything. We've went back and forth, and certainly Marty knows this, from everything from how we can do this and different methods of how we could fund it. I think we just need to know at this point, you know, where we stand and how we can move forward. And I'll leave it at that. I'll just read the mission statement of the library. More than a place for books, Library of the Chathams provides resources and valuable opportunities to build knowledge, culture, and social experiences that enrich lives. And here's my little, you know, prop now for the library. On the 250th anniversary of our nation's birthday, what better way to honor one of the most brilliant founders, Ben Franklin, of course, started the library system here, and by preparing and securing the future of our library for the next 100 years, because that's what this is really all about. It's not just a fix and a patch and a Band-Aid. It's preparing the library for the next 100 years. Thank you. And we're open for questions, obviously. Sorry.
Does anyone have any questions?
I do, but.
Fire away first.
Okay, so I need to understand the numbers a little bit better. So what is September? What is that deadline? You're telling me, so you are going to get a grant? You have to reapply for the grant you already have, and there's some.
I'm going to let Karen handle this because we
to
knew this would be a question, so thank you. There have been substantial changes in the grant process, but Karen's got the details.
Thank you.
The grant application that we made is not the same as what we're now asking them to approve, because we have a choice. We can either show 100% match secured for the entire project, or we have to take a piece of the project that won't be done separately from the rest of the project, but somehow requires like a certificate of occupancy or something that says, yes, this piece is completed. And it's a reimbursement program. It's not just they hand you the money. So what we need to do is to submit a substantial project change form, which I understand goes through the state library and then the Attorney General's office. We were originally told all of this has to be done and the agreement signed within 3 months of notice of the award, which would be the middle of June. However, they haven't sent us the paperwork yet that we need to complete. So obviously they can't hold fast to that, but they have indicated there is a little bit of flexibility. So that's what September's about.
You need to do a modification because your project has changed from your original
Well,
application.
the original project was $4.5 million, and now it's 11, I'm sorry, $1 million, 11 plus $1 million.
Mhm. And so then, does that mean that you could be denied?
It's possible.
Is the project that the original 4 point whatever was not happening?
It's the same project, it's
So
just
what
double
do
the
you mean?
cost.
Right, but I mean, they've already given you the money,
But they haven't given you the money.
or well, rather I'm sorry,
They've approved the grant.
for the same project, just a bigger project. So why do we need to advise them of a bigger project or go through a change?
That's in the regulations, and their rationale behind it is that they don't want to fund a project that's never going to be completed.
Because, because now they're funding a smaller percentage of a bigger project, so it's, it's less likely to occur. So they need to do
Yeah.
change the application, so the facts that they awarded the grant on have now changed.
As Kevin said, what was a 50% match for the project is now a much smaller percentage.
Right,
For the
but
whole
you're
project.
still only obligated to match the grant, correct?
If we can,
Which you already have that amount of money. Because the
If-
grant's a small amount, you already have a match.
We have it, but the question is that, will that be acceptable? You're talking about the 3 million that we've, yes.
Right.
So the
you already-
question is, will the state accept that as the matching element of the grant, or will it not? And we're not 100% sure of that question.
our architect is working on that application, and, he said to me the other day something like, well, they waited so many years, why do we have to justify it beyond that? But they have their rules. So we need our Board of Trustees this Thursday at their board meeting to approve a substantial change form that will obligate the library to something, and see if it's approved. Then it goes to the Attorney General's office and see if it's approved. Did I answer that?
Well, I think that's what she was saying. So, or your other choice is to submit it like it's two different projects, so that there's,
That's
which you
what we're
wouldn't do.
doing, but the other option would be to show the entire amount of the 50%, the entire funding for the project less that 2.45 million. That's the other option. And then we don't have to submit a substantial change form, we just have to submit a new funding sheet.
Okay, so I guess I was just trying to understand, so when you say September is a deadline, that's when you would need a commitment from the borough and the township?
Well, I think we can roll the dice, or we can have an answer like how we are going to roll the dice, if you will, one way or the other. If we don't hear from the towns, obviously we will, go forth with the matching element that we have in hand already, the $3 million. We're not sure if that will suffice or what it will get us. At the end of the day, though, I think the bigger question is, that could work. I didn't point it out in the presentation here, but the difference between doing the renovation, the HVAC obviously is a huge problem from the infrastructure standpoint, and the difference between doing that while you're doing a renovation of some sort to any extent is about $1 million. So it'd be about $2 million to do it while a renovation is going on, $3 million to do it if you're not doing any renovation. So, we're trying to weigh all our options, but we're also trying to figure out how do we proceed. Like, we've waited for this grant, as I said, and rightfully so. We waited, we got it, and now we have it. And so now we kind of need a decision. Costs have risen dramatically. I understand that. We all understand that. Everyone on the board understands that. We wrestle with this issue. But we're looking not only for whatever it is, but we're looking for direction, because, like I said, the board has pretty much, other than continuing to fundraise, but that would be a long journey that we won't match the price rises here.
Yeah, I guess just to understand, so your original grant award was without the borough or the township, giving you an obligation of contributing.
No, there was an obligation there. There was a 750,000 from each town. There was a basic obligation combined.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that, we needed that obviously to move forward.
So, but now you face the situation when you reapply that you could be denied based on the new circumstances.
Maybe. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Okay.
I would like to think that they won't go that deep, but we don't know.
Right, just because the finances of the project have changed, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to understand the September deadline to see, what you guys were.
You and I both.
But that's a moving date because that clock does not start until you get the paperwork from the state, right?
They never said that.
Okay.
They didn't say that.
So the letter.
They said from the time we were
written language
notified,
is such that the clock starts when you're awarded the grant.
which was mid-March.
Right. But you cannot take action because the state hasn't given you the paperwork to complete.
They gave us some preliminary paperwork, and we are working on that.
So the 4.5 million was the original number. So this is, I think, like 2019 or perhaps even before that. That 4.5 million was the number in the original application that's been sitting with the state. And that's the information the state used to award the 2.45 million grant?
No, the 4.5 was in round one. By the time round two was done, a year later, it was 4.9.
Okay. But the state has not seen the 11.98 million.
Well, they have now. But not in a formal way, not in a formal way.
Right.
Sorry, just so I understand, it sounds like the range you're talking about, if I understood, the 3 million is to just do the HVAC. And then the 11 million is the walls are open, so we want to I'll do the myriad of things that need to get done.
Yeah, well, there's a number of other, infrastructure items as well. That was just the basic costs for the differential between doing the work during a renovation versus not, yes.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Just to cut to the chase, so I will give my 2 cents, okay? I don't think anybody on this panel would ever want to deny the library anything. We all love the library and the services it provides to the community. We are in a serious budget squeeze, which I'm sure you'll hear pretty much from every door you knock. I mean, our budget on a, 19, 20 million budget went up about 900,000 just from healthcare costs, which is, and so then we have to turn around to the residents. So then when you talk about, we've got fire trucks coming on board and the capital expenditure associated with that, and then another 3.5 million for the library, I don't even know that we can increase our debt service to cover that without, entering into the referendum realm. So I just don't even know that we could, squeeze anything out of this rock here. So there's just basic facts. So this is a discussion, and I think we'd all love to support you as best we can. We're just trying to figure out, I don't even know how we do that by September and be fiscally responsible. But, again, like you said, it's a discussion. Anybody on the finance committee disagree with me? I'm just like, I don't even know how we make this happen.
No, there's a lot. There's a lot on our plate right now. We have the tax reval, which came up, 2 fire trucks, as you mentioned, the healthcare costs 30%. That's everywhere. That's not just here. That's not any related decisions that we made about how we're, providing healthcare services. It's just the reality of the world today. So, on another note, are there other opportunities for other grants? Is there a way to slice this and dice it and take part of it this grant is for one piece, and we dig and go deep into the internet or find other funding? I know I struggle with some of my clients with federal funding that completely disappeared, but are there other funding grant opportunities? I know the foundation, are we doing a capital campaign, naming opportunities for people to name rooms, to name, different things? So I'm trying to think
Yeah.
if what other revenue streams can we think about or that we could figure out how to support you?
Sure, and we've been thinking about those for a long time. We do have naming opportunities for anyone who wants to donate $5 million. We'll name it right now. We'll give you multiple rooms. I don't know what we'll do. But no, we do actually have naming opportunities for listed donation amounts and what that means. I think that is something where, as I said in the presentation, you know, the foundation work, but the foundation really is just in its early initial stages, and that's going to take some time to get it off the ground and moving. We're trying to do that. We've done the Bridges to Space. People in both towns know we have been, you know, campaigning to raise funds. I don't, you know, as far as the grants, yeah, I think that's probably work that the foundation would eventually do, looking for other grants. And you know, trust me, you know, we're up against the same thing. I mean, Z knows, you know, from the library, we have healthcare, we have employees too, and we have to take care of them, the healthcare costs there. We're struggling for answers and searching for answers to provide healthcare for them. So none of this is lost on anyone on the board. You know, having been in that seat, I know the struggles that you know, face the town, and being responsible. You know, but we did have to put forth, the discussion at the board was like, well, why would we go in and ask for less than what we need? If it's what we need, we think it's what we need, then that's what we should ask for, and that's why we're here, and we are, and we think that is what we need. Again, you know, the referendum was brought up. We didn't bring it up here ourselves, but that was brought up, you know, in board meetings, if that's what we have to do. Again, it's your decision how you want to move forward. We just need some direction so we then can figure out how to move forward, either with you or in a different direction, whatever it may take. If more fundraising, grants, whatever it might be. But we are at this point, we just need some direction, like where are we going? You
If
know, what do
we
we do?
had, let's say, everybody was aligned, there weren't all those pressures, we unilaterally said yes. Do we have any idea what kind of impact per household or anything? I mean, because the money's coming from somewhere, it's coming from tax of some kind, right? Do we have any idea how much that equates to per household or per 100,000 in value or anything along those lines?
We do. Yeah, but I
We do, but the numbers haven't been finalized. I received some information and I asked some questions back, but I did not get an answer that I saw. But we are thinking that it's about the cost of dinner now for each household going out. So, yeah, so like 190 something, but we don't know for certain until Deborah King gives us the final numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we have to look at that a little bit more, and you know, I mean, those are always something that puts it in relative terms for people to understand, but, you know, it's dinner one day, and then the other thing is another dinner, and then next thing you know, we're all going out to eat 7 nights a week, so I don't really like to use those analogies. It's really just, it's, you know, a referendum, I was thinking about the referendum, and the referendum is kind of today, right? It's in the moment today. Like, people will vote where they stand today. And I think from a collective, from a township committee perspective, you all are elected to think, you know, in the long term and what the consequences are of acting or not acting. And, you know, they're difficult decisions at times. But the committee should be thinking of in terms of the bigger picture, the longer term. And a referendum makes us act on how I feel about it today, me personally, you know. And so that's a different kind of element. It's kind of the same thing with the school board. You know, does it affect me or not? You know, that's how people sometimes line up to vote. So I just think if you think about what a library is, the fact that we don't have a community center really in both towns, and the library not only acts as a resource for the library and all the information it has in terms of children and children's books and children's programs, and then the teen center, and when you get into college and, you know, SATs and ACTs and preparation and business meeting. Like, it is a place that, you know, covers all the residents at some point or another, and it should be there, and it should be utilized to its fullest extent, and it is. And so I think of it in terms of the community as a whole, thinking in the long term and where this library is going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, 100 years from now. It's been there for 100 years. It's been disjointed. If you've been downstairs in the library, you know what we're talking about. So yeah, it's you know, I know the decision's not easy, and it's not necessarily, like I said, we're not asking for a vote on anything today, but we are asking, like, we need some guidance, and we need to know how to proceed for this grant in September, but we would also like to know where are we going for the long haul, because we need to refocus. We have spent an enormous amount of time getting to this point, so that has, you know, taken up the director's times and kind of thinking where are we going, so.
No, we don't disagree. The library is incredibly important. I just think there's a lot of stakeholders here. And if the foundation can accelerate their activities so that the onus isn't mostly on us to make the decision, like there's, you know, the board and the foundation. So, like, I hear you that the foundation is just kind of getting up and running, but there's been a long runway. So if there's any way to accelerate looking into grants, finding opportunities ASAP, that we can all kind of collectively come together and work together to find the money, rather than just saying, okay, you guys find the money. We all, I think, all the stakeholders.
Yeah, you know, and
should
look,
be
we're
responsible.
trying to find the money. We found
I know.
3 million, you know.
I know.
Which is, it takes time to find money
I
sometimes.
know, we're all
Yes,
looking for it.
yeah.
We're all looking for the
And
same money. so.
And that's the challenge. That's the challenge before us, because you know, look, I think if you look at the CEF, right? I think the CEF has raised $2 million in total. Is that right? About. But they've been around for about 30 years. CAF raised maybe $2 million, the same. I think they were around for maybe 10, 12 years. I mean, you know, that's, I hear what you're saying, but realistically, that is a great challenge. Unless
Yeah.
some great benefactor, we're looking for an Andrew Carnegie out there.
No, I'm talking more on
come-
the grant.
But we are, but no, but we are. We do need it. We do need, you know, a large, someone who would obviously philanthropic goals and the educational and aspects, community aspects of what a library does for a town.
Yeah.
We would welcome that. So if anybody's listening out there, I don't know what your ratings are, but
Okay.
yeah. So
All right.
anyway.
I guess what I need to know is, because for us, and when I said referendum, it's because, of course, we have caps. You would know, most everybody else would know. So we have caps, and if we bring on this debt service, and I don't know what relief we're getting next year with respect to, then we can be bumping up, I mean, I guess debt service is outside some of the caps, but I'm just not sure how that impacts, you know, the budget overall and our caps, and whether or not we're kind of forced into that realm. So that's what I was getting into. But I would want to understand, because we do have the 2 fire trucks coming on board. I'd want a better sense of when that money would be called up. So we might have to commit this year, but we don't have to deliver it for 3 years down the road. If you have a sense of when that money will be called up.
Considering the trend, maybe, yeah.
To consider
I said, considering the trend of when we get responses from the state and other, who knows?
Well, maybe we should say the earliest that money will be called up.
Every year we wait, the cost goes up.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is when you would have to, like, 50% down, expected in 2028, 25%, like, I don't know when those payment points would be that we'd have to deliver those funds. But it helps us to plan relative to the
Yeah,
2 trucks we
yeah.
have to deliver now. I think there's asks for additional fire trucks coming in.
3.
Three
3 over the
more?
next 4 years for about actually close to $4 million over the next.
Yeah, on top of the police cars and so a projection updated with this in there would help us to understand if we could even afford it.
So if I may ask then, do you mind going back to the slide with the different funding sources?
If the mouse will allow me.
Yes, it will. One second, Greg, go, one second, Karen, Greg's gotta resume the share.
You got it.
One sec.
It's good.
He's saying it's not.
Oh, well,
Yeah, Greg is gonna resume the share, cause it ended. while he's doing that, so Karen, let's say, the governing body, right, to do an ordinance, to actually have the funds available, to have this authorization, takes, let's say, 2 meetings. So let's say you've got an ordinance done by September, best case scenario, from both municipalities for 3.5 each, right? 3.25, right? What's 0.25, right? So let's say 3.25 from both municipalities. That gets you to your 6.5. You've got 3 committed. You've got, so what is the gap that's left? If both municipalities commit, you've got some funding.
The gap would be, it would only be an unknown gap of cost rises. That's the full, between the 2.45, the 3 million, and then the 3.25 million between each town, that's fully
Right,
funded.
so when we talk about the foundation raising, or an ongoing raise, what would that be for?
Well, I think like any nonprofit, it would be to continue to, so we wouldn't have to come back here, at some point.
So if those costs go up, let's say, so if.
Or if the costs go up, sure, it would be flowed into the
Okay.
project, yeah, sure.
Or it would reduce what the towns are contributing?
Um,
Because it kind of goes to sequence and timing, right? Like you're asking, and I know you're kind of both, right? What's the runway? How long? I mean, if we commit and we're able to provide the 3.25 and the borough is able to do it, is the foundation going to continue fundraising if you've closed the gap? That's it. There's no more funds needed.
it's a fair question.
And it goes to the reason the reason I'm asking that is, okay, so let's say we've got that done by September, then you've got, let's say you've got all the money. What are your next steps? You've got to have, engineering bid specs designed, go out to bid, the hiring of a project manager. Once you want to have the idea that funds are in place before you go out to bid, but then to award, just like when we do fire trucks, you would need to be able to certify that those funds are available, and presumably at that point, it just goes into phases of construction, right? Like they may need 10% to start for materials or whatever, get the process going, permitting, all of that. We're looking at probably timeframe of no earlier than really January 2026. I'm sorry, 2027, let's say shovel in the ground,
Yes.
right? Does that make sense? So does that, kind of just talking it out loud, so you have an idea of what the timeline is. So we would need the funds in order, for them, we have the authorization, they can certify the funds, but we would start drawing down, the 2 towns would start drawing down, either immediately, or they could draw down on the grant and whatever funds you've got already, 3 million. So we could also push that off. That's almost $5.5 million to get the project going before the 2 towns need to start financing the obligations. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Just kind of talking it all out loud. Now, I don't know how the parameters of the state grant are. They're typically drawdown and, you would need some money. Usually you have money in the reserve, so that's what the 3 million is. You'd probably be drawing down for that, submitting reimbursement, recouping it, and continuing that. But you would have about 5.45 million before maybe the 2 towns really start having to finance that. So that's a little less than halfway through the project. And do you have any idea how long the project would take?
Approximately 16 months.
Okay.
So just one reality note, and I'm sorry to bring this up, but in trying to ask people to donate to the project, I think it would be very difficult to ask people to make a donation that would then lessen the amount that the towns were giving. If there was a way to do that without being deceptive, sure, we'd give it a shot, but correct me if I'm wrong, but we have members of the foundation here.
It goes to some of the issues we're having in general, in total, that we discussed already. Because there was conversations about, kind of a matching element from the towns, to the work of the foundation or library, whatever it might be, whatever we received. But yet, that's great, but then it also, a lot of pressure to raise funds. And that's okay, but we might never get there. And then what? And then we're back at the costs. The trend is not our friend, and the higher costs continue to go. We're not catching up with the grants or with the donations, and we still don't have funding from the municipalities.
I'm
It's
not-
tough, it's a tough position.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
I'm not asking actually from any position,
Yeah.
I'm just rather talking out loud and kind of
Yes,
playing out
yeah.
scenarios so everybody
Right.
has an idea, because we're talking about
Right.
raising more funds, and also if you need obligations by a certain time frame. And let's say we do go to referendum, so, and that is the decision of the towns maybe, right? So then you won't have an actual decision until November. So
Right.
then that means between now and November is really the end date of when you're fundraising, from what I'm hearing, is that would sort
Sure.
of be the end date of your fundraising, right? So once the towns commit, you're saying, otherwise it sounds deceptive that you're saying, oh, please give us money, and then we're gonna lessen what the towns do. So the second you commit to funds, essentially the fundraising campaign is over. For-
I wouldn't put it that way. I mean, you know, I mean, it would just continue to go on. There'll always be need for something,
Okay.
you know, some reasons to make improvements, to have more programs, whatever it
But
might
towards
be.
this project,
But towards this project,
towards this
sure,
project.
sure, I
Yeah.
suppose.
because, yeah, you're
Yeah.
always raising funds through the foundation, but
Yeah.
for the sake of this project, that would conclude.
Yeah.
Unless there's overages or change orders.
Or we have a lot of expensive breakdowns happen between now and then, and we have to draw
Yeah.
on those
Well,
funds,
there's
which
also
is
the
what
project
keeps happening.
manager cost too, which you said is not included into this.
Yeah.
So project management,
But that's,
Average
I mean, it's a
10%.
restricted fund anyway, so even if they, like, if they did continue their fundraising and they exceeded the amount with the contributions, they were restricted funds to the capital campaign that they'd then have to move to an unrestricted fund as a nonprofit. So I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm just kind of
Yeah.
like solidifying your
Yep,
point
yeah,
to
yeah.
some degree there.
but the project, so you said the PM's not included, right?
That is correct.
Not yet.
Right, so let's say, right, about, you'd say 10 to 15%?
Percent, you mean? Oftentimes, yeah.
Yeah, so
Can
that's,
go low 8
yeah,
to 12. Yeah. So 10% would be not
Not
unreasonable.
For PM, for PM to be in there.
yeah, because it's like, it's gonna be a full-time job for a year and a
Oh,
half, and, pretty significant.
Yeah, not insignificant.
We were thinking about an owner's representative
No,
rather
no,
than,
Than PM, okay,
yes, but it's
So-
undecided.
yeah. Okay,
I don't want to take things too far, if you don't mind, Stacy. I've been trying to keep quiet. I'm, in general, like all of us, very, very much an advocate, but I would like to take advantage of some insights. Mr. Sullivan, you've been here through the entire process, from this side of the docket and the other, so I appreciate your balance and your perspectives, and I'd like to tap into that a little bit if we might. And that is the wish list, the numbers, they all seem on the surface to be easy. Okay, it's 3.25 from each municipality. That's pretty straightforward. The timing and the risks of referendum as a way to capture those funds. If you put yourself back behind this side of the desk, I am very much an advocate of the project and whatever we can do to figure something out. And I think you are to some degree too. Have you thought about, in your own mind, not putting you on the spot necessarily, but necessarily, and that is, you're back on this side of the desk. What would you do?
I'm not, but.
No, I understand. And this, I'm not but asking for, I'm just asking, okay, you have insight on all sides. And you can look at both a microcosm and the macro look.
Yeah, understand.
And so you have that balance, which
Right.
some of us here don't have. And so if we could take advantage of that, it would be keenly appreciated what your insights may or may not be.
Yeah, sure.
And you've mentioned some already.
Right.
Do you have any comments that you could make on that?
Oh, I would say I would be weighing, again, relative to, you know, everything that's taking place and the pressure that would be put on the taxpayers.
Mhm.
But also, I'd be weighing, you know, is it an asset that is worth saving? Is it an asset that is, you know, look, the reality is if you bond it for long-term, it adds to the debt load, but there's plenty of room in the debt load of the township still, I'm sure. when you look at what a town could potentially do. I know how that these things impact the surplus, et cetera, but when you're thinking about it in terms of the long term, it really comes down to the question, is this something worth doing? Is it an asset we want? And quite honestly, if I'm on your side and the question you're asking, that is a harder decision for the township than the borough, to some degree. I think we have to be honest about that, and residents have expressed that, particularly depending on where you live. But those residents need to realize that they can use other libraries, they can do other things, but they can't really do much without a library card from the Chathams at those other places, other than use their space. But in terms of what I had mentioned, a community center, a hub for all ages, is it an asset worth saving, preserving, and securing for the long haul? And then to Stacy's point, how does it impact overall caps, et cetera? Can we do it now? We've looked at, we've requested all of this, like, what about just a certain amount every year, so it's not a big hit to the budget in 1 year, or it doesn't feel like it is. We've kind of played all these things out, but I think ultimately the decision comes down to, is the library worth the investment, the taxpayers' investments, and again, for all the residents for the long term. Like, it is going to be something that will be here for the next 100 years. It's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like open space. Do you make that investment in it or not? Do you make investment in the library or not? Is it something that you really want to have and secure and preserve? Or do you just let it run its course and however it ends up, it ends up? But that'll be a decision for some other committee down the road, but I don't know if that's,
I don't like taking necessarily the down the road look from leaving it to others to decide in the future.
Yeah.
If we can set things up and preserve something and improve something that gets us there. But it gets us down to all this conversation that we've had here, that's very serious conversation that obviously we're going to go back and deliberate on significantly in trying to figure that out.
As it should be. I think any budget appropriation should be a very serious conversation.
Yes.
I mean, we used to argue over 0.25%, pay raises. I mean, that's a good thing. That's a healthy thing in government. It's a healthy thing to debate. We have heard from the residents. We've put out surveys, obviously what they've wanted and what they like in the library. We've reacted to some of that. We've shared some of that with you.
I appreciate all those comments. Thank you very much. And then but it leads to another thing, and that is, if we just can't figure it out, what happens? In other words, if the municipalities among themselves say, hey, we just don't have it, or one has some and the other doesn't have some, are there any comments from your perspective or the board perspective that you can share with us on what will happen or not happen based upon what we do?
Sure. Karen takes maybe a little different approach to this than I do. But look, things will, first off, we will continue to do what we're doing now, all right? We will continue to try to fundraise to do what we can. If we can get the matching grant, we will, and secure that with the funds we have. We're gonna take a phased approach. We've looked at the phased approach. The phased approach is much more money, but at the end of the day, we'll try to fix the HVAC and as much of the infrastructure as we can. I'll speak for Karen, but I think she would say that eventually system is going to fail. Something's going to go wrong if we do nothing, and it might be harmful to someone or the library or in general. So, but there are some major problems with the library, as we pointed out. How we get there is to be determined, but I think it goes back to what I said earlier. Just give us some direction, and we'll end up figuring out the rest.
Well, certainly
we'd like the direction that we'd like we'd like the best direction, that we put forth, but that's really, in terms of what you're asking, Marty, is at the end of the day, give us some direction, then we'll figure it out.
Okay. Well, there will be that deliberation certainly among this body itself and between municipalities. And we'll figure out something to give you some direction. I think the request for direction is legitimate and fair, but hate being under the gun as you have been as soon as something shows up. And we fully appreciate that. But what I do not want to do is become long-winded and hold you up because you have to get to the borough as well. And I think it would be timely for us to swallow very hard. Thank you very much.
I forgot about the borough, shocker.
Well, you're on our side, Kevin, so we appreciate that, so.
Sorry, before you shut them down, I did have a question.
Yes, please.
So we had committed previously, years ago now, 400,000, I believe it was, each of the towns.
Yeah,
That was
about
part- so
450,
is it
about
three-
450, yeah. It was 900, 950 total.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
set aside, yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
we gave them.
You get,
Yeah.
that was spent and set aside,
Oh,
yeah.
never mind.
Yep,
Yeah.
we,
Okay.
we,
There was
not too long
700.
ago, I think last year, you guys asked for the balance of those funds, so,
Got
and
it,
you
okay.
granted those.
Yes, and we used it toward the project, but there was also 750,000.
No, I'm sorry, Greg, could you give her the amount? I did have a, no, sorry, I had one more
Oh, no,
question.
we are.
I had, sorry, continue your answer.
There was a resolution passed by both towns for a combined $750,000 that was never applied because we didn't get the grant.
On the grant, what is the deadline to use those funds?
As far as I know, there isn't a deadline.
So they are committed and lingering. The only downside would be the cost of the project keep going up, obviously, the longer this is delayed, but.
As
there-
far as I know.
Okay, and then there was a slide where you were talking about sort of the annual maintenance or the annual ongoing costs related to not doing this work. What, could you go back to that slide or just,
We're at 200,000 for the time period that was shown this year to date for HVAC.
200,000 year to date, you're saying from,
It's not year to date,
year
it
to-
was,
okay,
Cumulative.
cumulative?
Yeah.
Okay, so the annual cost then is obviously less than the 200,000 a year.
but
it's rising.
electricity to run the dehumidifiers, heaters, I mean, we couldn't be less green. It's very wasteful and expensive, and the staff time that could be spent on direct patron services or something else.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm going to email it.
okay, we can now open the first hearing of citizens. Mr. LeConte, would you please provide?
Members of the public are now welcome to come up to the microphone to address the Township Committee. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearings tonight. Those present may step up to the microphone to be heard. If you're watching via Zoom, you may speak during any of the public comment sessions by following the Zoom instructions to raise your hand. Whether in person or online, when you are recognized to speak, please mind the following procedures. Please say your name, spell your last name, and give the name of your street. You do not need to give your street number. All public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Rather than use any of your time answering questions, the Township Committee will wait until you finish speaking before responding. There are 2 public comment sessions on tonight's agenda. Each member of the public will be limited to 1 comment of up to 3 minutes during each public comment period. Written comments submitted to the Township Clerk before 3 p.m. today will be read, which we didn't receive any, so this is a moot point. But if we had received any, they would be read. Written comments would have been subject to the same guidelines as oral comments. Duplicative written comments, had we received any, would be summarized rather than read in full according to guidelines issued by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services.
Thank you very much. Are there any hands raised online?
We do not have any hands raised.
Okay, any comments from the audience? Nope. Okay. Okay, we can close the first hearing of citizens, and we can move on to the introduction of ordinances. Very interesting. Tonight, we're introducing two ordinances. One, 2026-09, which is our capital ordinance, which is not as high as it's been in past years because it's been a tough budget year, and we're being fiscally responsible. So that's one of the ordinances we're introducing tonight, as well as 2026-10, amending the police department personnel, which capped the number of patrol officers that we were able to have, which we're increasing due to adding a new patrol officer. Are there any comments? Questions? Did you want to say something?
If you wanted me, Mayor, I could just,
Yeah, sure.
in 2 seconds, just run down what the total of the capital is going to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just for the benefit of the public, because as you said, you know, it is a tight fiscal year, and the outlook for, not just this year, but future years, is really a difficult one. Certainly keeps me up at night knowing that we are in a very tough bind. It really does. On the capital side, as you mentioned, this is probably the lowest we've been committing to capital because of the difficulty that we're facing this year and trying to be responsible for the years to come ahead. But what it is funding is really all the essentials and focus on public safety, as we've been doing for the past couple of years and will continue to do. The next couple of years have, in addition to 3 apparatuses for the fire departments that are going to be totaling almost $4 million, just the future outlook in addition to police vehicles. This year, we're allocating and authorizing with this ordinance an additional $500,000 for capital, in addition to pretty much draining any old capital funds that we've got available for, in which they are applicable for the requests that came in this year.
Yeah.
And so that is for the fire departments, combined, the 2 fire departments, we're authorizing $156,000 in this and using additional funds from old capital. So it's not just 150, but that's 156 for the fire departments. For the police department, that's an authorization of also $169,000, and that's for body-worn cameras and vehicles. And then for our public works, about $175,000, and that is for plows and groundskeeping equipment. So nothing in here is a want; it is all absolutely a need. Without a doubt, this is all either obsolete equipment or required equipment that needs to be replaced.
Thank you.
Can I move that we introduce ordinance 2026-09 for the capital ordinance?
And I'll second that.
Okay. Vote.
Mr. Alperowitz,
Yes.
Mr. Troy,
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McHugh,
Yes.
and Mayor Rowland.
Yes.
Motion passes, and the public hearing will be on June 23rd.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to introduce ordinance 2026-10, amending the police department personnel?
I move to introduce 2026-10.
I'll second.
Okay, vote.
Mr. Alperowitz,
Yes.
Mr. Troy,
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McHugh,
Yes.
and Mayor Rowland.
Yes.
Motion passes, and public hearing on June 23rd.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Question, we have a consent agenda. Is there anything that, any item that someone would like to pull out and discuss or vote on separately? We are adding one tonight, which we'll do separately. Right? I did.
There is not an item that I'd like to pull out, though, if I may, Mayor Rowland, just share a few words with regard to Resolution 2026-108, appointing member to Joint Recreation Committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I may just spend 30 seconds. Afterwards? Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Well, second.
Okay.
Mr. Alperowitz,
Yes.
Mr. Troy,
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McHugh,
Yes.
and Mayor Rowland.
Yes.
Motion passes. Now 108.
Yeah, just a few words with regard to Resolution 2026-108, appointing member to Joint Recreation Committee. The citizen in question is Mr. Peter Tripp. He has stepped up to volunteer in this particular capacity. I have known Mr. Tripp for over a decade. He's an individual who, in terms of skills and experience, he's a licensed architect for a couple of decades, also in real estate development. So I think he's going to be valuable in not just, particularly with regard to his service in the zoning board, and in particular with regard to Joint Recreation Committee. He's got children, 2 sons in the school systems who've played sports, a variety of different sports. He's active recreationally as well. Personally, I found him to be a deep thinker, empathetic, and a pretty active member of the community. So I'm enthused that he's decided to step up and volunteer and serve in a couple different capacities this evening with respect to specifically Joint Recreation Committee. He will be representing, I think, the township admirably on discussions and matters at hand that affect our children in the community. So just wanted to share those words.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, all our volunteers, we're very grateful for people that step forward. Okay. We're adding an additional.
We still need to vote on that resolution?
Oh, we need to vote on.
We need a motion and a second because it was pulled from the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve, adopt, Resolution 2026-108.
I'll second.
Mr. Alperowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Troy?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McHugh?
Yes.
And Mayor Rowland?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we are adding an additional resolution, and I'm looking for a motion to authorize a professional services agreement with the law firm of Cipriani and Werner for special legal services.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Alperowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Troy?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McHugh?
Yes.
And Mayor Rowland?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the second hearing of citizens. Same rules apply. Mr. LeConte, is there anyone online that has a question or a comment?
Oh, none of our online participants have any hands raised?
Wonderful. And seeing no one in the room, we will close the second hearing of citizens. And that brings us to a motion to adjourn, if anyone.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor, aye, yes.
I always forget. Aye versus vote. Thank you very much.
Recording stopped.